Have you ever sat across from your wife or played on the floor with your children only to realize there is an ocean of distance between you? As men, we are wired to be fixers. We hear a problem and we immediately reach for a mental toolbox to build a solution. But sometimes, our families aren't looking for a contractor. They are looking for a witness. They aren't asking us to fix their world. They are asking us to feel it. The most profound truths in a household are rarely shouted. They are whispered in the sighs after a long day, the avoidance of eye contact, or the sudden, quiet retreat of a child to their room. If you only listen to the words being spoken, you are missing 80% of the conversation. And this is the art of listening. And it is perhaps the most difficult and most rewarding discipline a man can master. We often mistake silence for peace. We think that if no one is complaining, everything is fine. But silence in a home can be deceptive. It can be the silence of contentment, or it can be the silence of exhaustion, where a wife has stopped sharing her burdens because she feels they fall on deaf ears. It can be the silence of a child who feels their small joys aren't important enough for a busy father. To lead a family is to be the chief listener. It requires us to put down the phone, quiet our own internal monologue, and create a safe harbor where the unspoken can finally surface. It's about being present enough to notice the tension in a shoulder or the hesitation in a voice. In this first part, here we strip away the noise of our busy lives to ask a difficult question. Are you truly hearing them? Or are you just waiting for your turn to speak? Let's learn to hear the heart behind the hush. To understand the art of listening, we must first acknowledge a painful truth. Hearing is a physical act, but listening is a spiritual choice. We hear the noise of the television, the hum of the refrigerator, and the literal words our wives say as they pass us in the kitchen. But to listen, truly listen, is to give someone the most valuable resource you possess, your undivided attention. For many of us, attention has become a fragmented thing. We live in a world of constant pings, notifications, and a never-ending mental checklist of tasks to be completed. When our wife starts to talk about her day, or when our child wants to show us a drawing, we often offer them a ghost of ourselves. We nod, we say, uh-huh, but our minds are already miles away, solving a problem at work or scrolling through a digital world that doesn't care about us. This half-presence is a slow poison to intimacy. It sends a silent message to the people we love most. What you are saying is a background noise to my life.
Look what I made.
As the head of the household, the pillar of the home, your presence sets the emotional temperature of the room. When you listen with only half of your heart, you create an environment where your family members feel invisible. They begin to prune their words. They stop sharing the small details, the tiny anxieties, and the fragile dreams. Why? Because they have learned that the king is too busy to be bothered with the small things. But here is the secret of leadership. The small things are the only things. The way your wife sighs when she puts down her keys. The way your son's shoulders slump when he mentions a friend at school. These are the entry points to their souls. If you miss these signals because you are waiting for a major problem to solve, you will find that by the time a major problem arrives, the bridge of trust has already collapsed. Men often fear listening because we fear we won't have the answer. We feel an intense pressure to provide a fix. When she expresses frustration, we give a lecture. When the child expresses fear, we give a command to be brave. We must realize that listening is not an interrogation. It is not a search for data so you can formulate a strategy. It is a form of hospitality. It is opening the door of your heart and inviting their emotions to sit down and rest. You do not need to have the answer. Often, the answer is simply your silence, your eye contact, and your hand on their shoulder. It is the act of staying in the room when things get uncomfortable. It is the courage to say, I hear you. I see that this is hard, and I am right here with you. That is the weight of the pillar. That is the strength that holds a house together when the storms of life begin to blow. If the heart is the engine of listening, then your body is the vessel that carries it. We often think that as long as our ears are functioning, we are listening. But for your wife and your children, listening is a visual experience. They do not just hear your silence, they read your posture. They look at your eyes. They sense the energy you bring into the room. In the modern home, the greatest enemy of the family is the glowing rectangle in your hand. The smartphone has become a wall that we build between ourselves and those we claim to love. When you look at your screen while your wife is speaking, you are telling her that the entire world, every stranger's opinion, every news headline, every meaningless video, is more important than her soul. You may be able to repeat her words back to her, but you have failed to listen, because listening requires a sacrifice. It requires you to kill your distractions so that the other person can live in your awareness. Think about the message this sends to your child. When they come to you with a story about their day, and your eyes never leave the screen, you are teaching them that they are an interruption. You are training them to stop coming to you. Eventually, they will find someone else who will look them in the eye. As the leader of the home, you must establish the law of the presence. When someone enters your space to speak, you must physically pivot, turn your shoulders, set the phone face down, close the laptop. This simple physical act says more than 1,000 words. It says, you are my priority. My world stops because you are speaking. This is the architecture of trust. It's built in the small moments when you choose the person over the device. Listening also involves the eyes. We must learn to look for the micro expressions, the slight tremble of a lip, the way a gaze drops when a certain topic is mentioned, the light that fades from a child's face when they feel ignored. A man who masters the art of listening is a man who notices the weather patterns of his home. He knows when a storm is brewing in his wife's heart long before she says a word. He senses the cold front of loneliness moving through his daughter's spirit, and he doesn't run away. He doesn't hide behind his work or his hobbies. He stands in the gap. He remains steady. He uses his presence as a shield, letting them know that whatever they are feeling, it is safe to bring it to him. Remember, your family doesn't need a king who sits on a distant throne. They need a father and a husband who is willing to get down in the trenches of their emotions. They need a man whose eyes say, I am here, I am listening, and you are safe. This is how we begin to heal the silence. This is how we turn a house back into a home. One of the greatest challenges for a man is to stop listening for facts and start listening for feelings. Our brains are designed for efficiency. When our wife speaks, we are often scanning her words for data points. We want to know what happened, who is at fault, and how can we fix it. But a woman's heart does not always operate on the tracks of logic. She does not always speak to convey information. Often, she speaks to release the pressure of her day. She speaks to feel connected. She speaks because she needs to know that she is not alone in her experience. When we interrupt her with a logical solution, we are essentially telling her that her emotions are a problem to be solved rather than a person to be understood. This is where the wall begins to rise. If you want to master the art of listening, you must learn to ask yourself one question. What is the emotion behind the story? She may be talking about a conflict at work, but the emotion is a feeling of being undervalued. She may be complaining about the chaos of the house, but the emotion is a cry for support and recognition. If you address the work conflict with advice, you have missed her. If you address the housework with a chore list, you have missed her. But if you look at her and say, "That sounds incredibly exhausting. I can see why you feel that way," you have just opened a door that logic could never unlock. You have validated her reality. Validation is not about agreeing with every detail. It is about acknowledging that her feeling is real to her. As the head of the house, your validation is like oxygen. Without it, the relationship begins to suffocate. We often fear that if we don't fix it, we have failed as providers. But sometimes, the greatest provision you can offer is a safe space for her to be vulnerable. A man's strength is not just in his muscles or his bank account. It is in the breadth of his shoulders and his ability to carry the weight of her emotions without crumbling under the pressure. Listening to your wife is an act of leadership because it requires self-control. It requires you to suppress your ego, to silence your inner expert, and to simply be a companion in her journey. When she feels truly heard, her respect for you grows, not because you are the smartest person in the room, but because you are the safest person in her life. She will follow a man who takes the time to understand her map before he tries to lead her to a destination. This evening, when you sit down together, try a different approach. Don't look for the who, what, and where. Look for the how are you really? Listen for the tone of her voice. Watch for the fatigue in her eyes. And when she finishes, don't offer a plan. Offer your hand. Offer your understanding.
It's all right,
Let
my
her
love.
know that in the silence and the storm,
here.
her heart has a home in yours.
Everything is going to be okay.
This is
I
the
could
art
walk
of
here
connection.
forever with you.
This is the power of a man
It's so
who knows how
beautiful.
to listen.
Everything smells-
If listening to a wife requires empathy, listening to a child requires a return to innocence. As fathers, we often view our children through the lens of authority. We see a messy room, a poor grade, or a tantrum, and we immediately go into correction mode. We speak with the voice of a judge, issuing verdicts and handlings down sentences. But have you ever stopped to listen to what the behavior is actually saying? A child's language is rarely composed of words alone. Their language is play. Their language is rebellion. Their language is the sudden clinginess or the uncharacteristic withdrawal. When your son is acting out, he might not be trying to be bad. He might be shouting in the only way he knows how. Dad, I need you to notice me. When your daughter stops sharing her stories about school, she isn't just growing up. She might be protecting herself because she felt that the last time she spoke, you weren't really there. To listen to a child, you must first change your elevation. Physically, get down on one knee, get on their level, look into their eyes. This simple act of lowering yourself is a profound statement of love. It tells them that their small world is important enough for you to enter. We often dismiss the problems of children as small: a broken toy, a playground disagreement, a fear of the dark. But to a child, these are giants. If we tell them to get over it, or that, it's no big deal, we are teaching them that their emotions are invalid. We are closing the door to their heart. And if they can't trust you with the broken toy today, they will not trust you with the broken heart 10 years from now. Listening to a child means listening to their silence. It means noticing when the spark in their eyes dims. It means being the kind of father who doesn't just ask, "How was school?" but asks, "Who did you help today?" Or, "What made you feel brave today?" It's about asking open-ended questions, and then, this is a hard part, actually waiting for the answer. Children think at a different speed. They need space to find their words. If you rush them, if you finish their sentences, you are stealing their voice. You are telling them that your time is more valuable than their thoughts. Mastering the art of listening in fatherhood is about becoming a safe harbor. It's about being the man to whom they can bring their failures, their fears, and their strangest questions, knowing they won't be met with a lecture, but with a listening heart. When a child feels heard, they feel significant. They develop a sense of worth that no bully or social media post can take away. They grow up knowing that the most important man in their life values what they have to say. This is how you build a man of character. This is how you raise a woman of strength. It starts with your ears open, your phone down, and your heart leaning in. Because the greatest lessons you will ever teach your children won't come from your speeches. They will come from the moments when you were quiet enough to hear who they truly are. The greatest obstacle to deep listening is not the noise of the world. It is the noise within ourselves. It is the ego. Every man, at some point in his life, builds a fortress around his mind. We call it strength, we call it leadership, but in reality, it is often just a wall. This wall is built from the need to be right, the need to be in control, and the fear that if we truly open our ears, we might lose our authority. When your wife or child approaches you with a concern, the ego immediately goes on the defensive. It feels like an attack. Instead of hearing their pain, the ego hears a criticism. Instead of seeing their need, the ego sees a threat to its competence. And so, we stop listening, and we start preparing our counter-argument. We wait for a gap in their speech, not to understand, but to strike back. We say things like, "But I did this for you," or "You're overreacting," or "That's not how it happened." In those moments, you might win the argument, but you are losing the person. You are reinforcing the wall, while the heart on the other side slowly begins to wither. True listening requires the death of the ego. It requires the humility to say, "My perspective is not the only truth in this house." It means being willing to hear that you have hurt someone without immediately trying to justify your actions. This is the hallmark of a high-value man. A weak man uses his voice to dominate the room. A strong man uses his silence to hold the room. He knows that his authority is not threatened by the emotions of his family. In fact, his authority is strengthened by his ability to absorb those emotions and remain a steady, loving presence. The ego wants to be the hero of the story. It wants to be the one with the answer, the one who saves the day, the one who is thanked for his wisdom. But a father and a husband must learn to be the supporting character. Sometimes, the most heroic thing you can do is to sit in the discomfort of another person's sadness without trying to fix it so you can feel better. Because often, when we fix things too quickly, we are doing it for ourselves, not for them. We do it to silence the discomfort that their pain causes in us. To master the art of listening, you must practice internal silence. When they speak, notice the urge to interrupt. Notice the urge to defend yourself. And then choose to let it go. Now breathe. Lean in. Let their words land. You will find that when you stop defending your fortress, the people inside it finally feel safe enough to come out. The silence in your home will stop feeling like a cold war and start feeling like a sanctuary. It takes a powerful man to be a quiet man. It takes a king to lay down his crown and simply be a listener. By dismantling the barrier of the ego, you create the space where true love can finally be heard. Listening is the foundation, but empathy is the bridge. Once you have silenced your phone, hushed your ego, and opened your heart, the next step is to show them that you have actually arrived at their destination. In the art of listening, we use a technique called reflective listening. It is the act of being a mirror for the person you love. When your wife shares a struggle or your child expresses a fear, they are often in a fog of emotion. They are lost in the woods of their own feelings. Your role as the leader is to hold up a light so they can see where they are standing. This does not mean repeating their words like a machine. It means translating their feelings back to them. It sounds like this. So, what I'm hearing is that you felt completely unsupported when that happened today. Is that right? Or, it sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed by everything on your plate right now. Notice that these are not solutions. They are not judgments. They are anchors. When you mirror someone's emotions, something miraculous happens in their brain. The tension in their nervous system begins to drop. The fight or flight response slows down. Why? Because the most basic human need is the need to be witnessed.
I think I'm finally
When you
ready to
say,
move on.
"I see your pain," the pain becomes easier to carry. It's no longer a solitary burden. It is a shared experience. As men, we often find this step awkward. We feel like we are stating the obvious. But what is obvious to your eyes is often a mystery to their heart until you speak it aloud. By naming the emotion, you give them power over it. You seem disappointed. You look like you need a rest. It sounds like you're proud of what you did. These simple phrases are the keys to the kingdom of intimacy. They prove that you weren't just waiting for the silence so you could leave the room. They prove that you were traveling with them. However, you must be careful with your tone. Empathy cannot be faked. If you use these words as a tactic to get the conversation over with, they will smell the insincerity. They will feel handled, not heard. True reflection comes from a place of genuine curiosity. It comes from a desire to truly know the woman you married. and the children you are raising. It is about saying, "Your inner world matters to me, and I am willing to stay here until I understand it perfectly." Think of yourself as a steady mountain reflecting in a clear lake. When the water is choppy and disturbed, your steady, calm reflection helps the water find its stillness again. You don't have to calm the storm. You just have to be the one who isn't afraid of the rain. This is the art of reflection. It is the moment where two separate souls find a common language. It is the moment where I and you become us. Take a breath. Look them in the eye, and instead of giving an answer, give them back the gift of their own heart, wrapped in your understanding. The true test of a man's character is not how he listens during a quiet dinner. It is how he listens when the voices are raised, when the accusations are flying, and when his own heart is pounding with the urge to fight back. Most of us view conflict as a battle to be won. We see our wife's anger as a threat to our peace, or our child's defiance as a challenge to our power. But in the art of listening, conflict is not a battle. It is a distorted cry for help. When a person is shouting, it is usually because they feel that their normal voice is no longer being heard. They are turning up the volume because they feel invisible.
This is completely unacceptable.
If you respond with your own shouting, you are simply adding noise to the storm. You are proving to them that the only way to communicate in this house is through volume and aggression. When a high-value man does something radical in the middle of a fight, he lowers his voice, he slows his breathing,
You don't take this
and he
seriously
listens
at
for the
all.
pain underneath the
I
anger.
hear your frustration.
Anger
Let's
is
talk
a
about it
secondary emotion. It is a shield that protects something softer: fear, loneliness, exhaustion, or disappointment. If you react only to the anger, you are fighting a ghost. But if you listen for the underlying hurt,
Just calm down.
you
What the
are engaging with the soul. When you are under fire, your first job is to remain the pillar. Do not take the bait.
Just hear me
Do
out
not
for a
let your
second.
ego drag you into the mud.
I didn't mean it like that. I was just trying
Instead,
to help you see the bigger
try to
picture
find
here.
the kernel of truth in what they are saying. Even if they are expressing it poorly, even if they are being unfair, there is usually a grain of reality at the center of their frustration. Acknowledge that grain. I can see that you are incredibly hurt by what I did, and I want to understand why. This is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate sign of strength. It takes a massive amount of self-control to hold your tongue and open your ears when every instinct tells you to defend yourself. By listening during a conflict, you de-escalate the situation without firing a single shot.
I am so
You
angry right now.
demonstrate
I feel
that
like
you
never
are a
listen to me.
man who can handle the
But
truth.
seeing you sit there calmly
You show your
do
family that
understand.
even when things are ugly, your love is a safe place to land. Remember, you are the captain of the ship. When the waves are crashing over the bow, the crew looks to the captain. If the captain is panicking and screaming, the ship is lost. But if the captain is calm, focused, and listening to the
Is there
rhythm
anything
of the
I can do to
sea,
help right now,
the
or would you
crews
just like to
feel
sit here for a
safe.
moment?
You practice the 10-second rule. When you feel the urge to snap back, count to 10. Let the words hit the shield of your patience and fall to the ground. Then, instead of a counterattack, ask a question. Help me understand what's making you feel this way right now. In that moment, the fight stops being about me versus you and starts being about us versus the problem. This is how a man leads through a storm. He doesn't outshout the wind.
I know, I'm sorry.
He listens to what the wind is
Can we
trying
just
to
talk
tell
about
him.
this?
We have journeyed through the silence, the ego, and the storms of conflict. And now,
I remember when he
we arrive at the most important truth of all. The art of listening is not just a skill, it is a legacy. The way you listen to your wife today will determine the depth of your connection 30 years from now. The way you listen to your children today will determine if they come to you when life gets hard in the future. As men, we often worry about the material things we leave behind. We work long hours to provide a house, a car, and a college fund. But the greatest inheritance you can give your family is the memory of a father and a husband who truly knew them. A man who didn't just provide for their bodies, but who nourished their souls simply by being present. Imagine your children grown, sitting around a table, talking about you. Do you want them to remember a man who was always on his phone? A man who was always right? Or do you want them to remember a man whose eyes lit up when they walked into the room? A man who was a sanctuary of understanding in a world that is often loud and cold. Listening is the ultimate act of love because it requires you to set aside your most precious asset, yourself. It's a daily choice to value another person's reality above your own convenience. It's not easy. There will be days when you are too tired to listen. There will be days when your ego screams to be heard. In those moments, remember the pillar. A pillar does not move when the weight becomes heavy. It stands firm. It holds the structure together. By mastering this art, you are not just improving your marriage or your parenting. You are becoming a better man. You are developing a spirit that is strong enough to be quiet and wise enough to be still. You are learning that the most powerful words a man can say are often the ones he doesn't speak. Thank you for walking this path with us at the Unspoken home. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to do one thing tonight. Put your phone in another room. Sit down with your wife or your child. Look them in the eye and simply ask, what is one thing on your heart today that I haven't heard yet? Then, just listen. Don't fix. Don't judge. Just be there. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe to join our community of men striving to lead with heart and discipline. Share this with a brother who needs to hear the silence. Until next time, stay strong, stay present, and keep listening to the unspoken. This is the Unspoken Home.